I'm the Senior Arts and Entertainment Editor at the San Francisco Chronicle. And, if you checked out our site or picked up paper on Sunday, we have the cast of American-born Chinese on the cover. And so, check it out. So first of all, I want to say I am so honored to be Asian. And I am so honored to be on this historic stage here at the Castro Theater for this amazing showcase. With these people who brought a wonderful story to the screen. So, first, I guess I can make myself comfortable now. I would like to introduce series creator, showrunner, Kelvin Yu. Award-winning graphic novelist, executive producer, and East Bay native, Luen. The Monkey King himself, Daniel Wu, another East Bay.
Bay Area represent! The Bay Area!
There's my dub blues, just in case, you know. And then...
Too soon.
And then the actors who play Jin's parents, Chen Han and Yann. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm also twins with Jin.
That's right.
Just in case you did a little surprise.
$80?
$80. I did actually pay for it though. I did. Chili's cuter. Don't stop. So that was a fun little sneak peek into this amazing series I'm very excited for. Coming to Disney Plus on May 24th. Jean, let's start with you since you are the mastermind behind this story, which is based on your 2006 graphic novel, the first graphic novel to ever be nominated for a National Book Award. Let's give a round of applause. How does it feel after all these years to see your work being brought to life on a big screen like this, and then on Disney Plus streaming for everybody?
I've used this word a lot, so much that my wife actually tells me I can't use it, but I figure she's not up on the screen, so I'm gonna do it. It's been surreal. It's been absolutely surreal. Yeah, like I feel like the last maybe 2 or 3 years of my life have not felt like my actual life. It feels like I'm living somebody else's life. In a good way,
Now, let's see, okay, for a show of hands, who has read the book? All of you!
Thank you for reading it.
And Daniel, in an earlier conversation, you had told me you discovered the book, and you saw it on like the desk of your nephew?
Yeah, my nephew's, it was a part of their school curriculum. So I saw it sitting on the desk there, and I was like, what's this? And I just picked it up and started thumbing through it, and then I just got into it and read it. I was like, this is amazing. You know, I wish I had something like this when I was growing up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fun read because it's beautiful too. So for those who have read the book and love the book, what can you tell us about the similarities and differences between the book and what you see on screen now?
Oh, you want to? Well, I think, so early on we made 2 decisions, right? We made the decision to move the timeline from the 80s, 90s, which is when the book was set, which is when I was growing up, to now, to the 2020s. And the conversation about Asian Americans has changed. So those changes needed to be reflected in the adaptation. And then the second choice we made was, rather than taking graphic novel and adapting it to a movie, we chose to adapt it to a television series, which is open-ended. You know, the graphic novel is finite. It's just 200 pages, one and done, and that's it. So when you do that, you actually have to expand the world quite a bit to make sure it can fit everything you want to fit into it, to fill out that, you know, that possibly open-ended structure. And a lot of that was because of Kelvin. Like Kelvin was the one that handled the bulk of that.
Talk about you, like discovering the book yourself.
Yeah, it was gifted to me and sat on my shelf until just last week. I just read it. I'm not done. I actually, it sat on my shelf for a few months until I got on a plane, and I was like, oh, this will be perfect. I'll bring this. And I read it twice on that flight. And I think I've probably read it 30 or 40 times at this point, maybe more. And I will say, it sounds cliche, but you do discover more and more every time you read it, because I think it hits you wherever you're at in life. You might identify with one character or another. And then there are little bits of humor that don't play the first time, and then you find them the next time. I think in adapting it was a challenge. I think the biggest challenge was trying to combine the heart and the humor of Luen, because he has a way of hitting you sort of above the neck and below the neck at the same time. You know, it's really intellectual, and yet you're also really feeling everything in it. And like I said, updating it. And then the big change, I think, was bringing Jin's family into it. And I'm so happy that Yann and Chin Han are here today, because, you know, the actor's job is to essentially fill in the blanks. You know, and that's everything. That's sort of everything, you know what I mean? Because the blanks are what make it real. And they just embody it so much. And I know if you're going to talk about a 15-year-old's experience, you're going to talk about parents. And so I just would love to hear them say, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they got more shine in the show than in the book, right? So you guys created this character.
Yeah, I think when I first read the book, and Jean and Kelvin and Destin introduced me to it, there were two panels, I think, with the parents, and then one of it was the background of the dad's head. so there was so much to go on.
That was the audition. We had you just sit backwards.
And then I said I had to do it. You know, the back of his head looked pretty good.
You got it. You got the job.
No, but I think they've created a family that's very real and authentic, and I think that was the thing that we did going into the rehearsals with Yann and Wang. We actually spent a lot of time when we were not shooting, doing a lot of things off-set, right? So some of the things were, we ate together a lot. Yann took them shopping. Yann was always cooking for them. Ben was sometimes cooking for us, and the kids were crazy. I mean, they would watch like all of Harry Potter in one day or something, 6 movies.
Not just Ben, it's all the kids from the show. Jimmy and Sydney.
Yeah, it became a little family. You guys.
Yeah, it's a little family. And there's one day they were in my apartment, and this lady came over and said she needs some help. And then she looked at us, she's like, are they all your kids? And I said, yeah, kids, go help. It's so cute. Yes, we literally become a family in that 4 months' time. And not just actors, even our creators. And I mean, I'm so happy to see them every day. Whenever I see them, I just feel the warmth, and it's an honor to fly halfway off half the earth to come here to work with this bunch of really, really talented people, talented, hardworking, most hardworking people that I know. Thank you very much for having me, seriously. Thank you.
I second that. It was really special working on this. I worked on a lot of things, and trying to find that specialness of a project is few and far between oftentimes. And this one, like the first day we all saw each other, we were doing something special, and it just carried that energy all the way through.
Going back to the parents, and I will get back to that as well, but who did you, or what influenced your characters, Shenhan and you, as parents? Were those your parents? Were there pieces of your parents in there?
We all have parents.
Right. Right.
Whether which part of the world we live in, our parents, you know. So a lot of Christine actually comes from my mother, my aunties, and all these women that I've met and spoken to. Of course, we took, I think the writing team, Jin and Kelvin, they created great base for us to jump on and really using this Christine character. The first time I read the script, I already fell in love with him. That was the scene when they were in the supermarket where, you know, that was the very first scene. And
It's a hip store. I don't know if
Yes,
you've
that's
seen
right.
the show. It's not a
Store, yeah.
supermarket, just to be clear.
yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
It's a very hip store.
It's
That's what
really, really hot stuff, you know. That first scene, that, you know, it's so clear, this mom and son trying to understand each other so hard. She's trying to understand him, he's also trying to express himself, but there's just so clear that they came from different background. They grew up with different culture. They just couldn't, they wanted, but they couldn't. And mom is full of concern, but she couldn't show it because he's in the adolescence. There's so much in one scene, there's so much nuances in one scene. So I immediately fell in love with Christine, and she's so patient and sweet.
I'm not really sure about that.
What? Sorry, Simon.
You guys read different scripts, apparently.
We can settle it at the back.
Okay, we'll talk about it later.
But your Shinhan is your father character. Is that based off of your dad or any other father figures?
Well, I think Kelvin, Jean, and you know, and the writers that we have and Destin, I think they've created such a great blueprint to begin with, you know, and then we start inserting ourselves and all our experiences and the people we've known, and of course, you know, your own father, and, you know, and yourself too, you know, I mean, you put yourself in as a son because, you know, into the narrative, and then you kind of find your way through it. It's very hard, you know, because I think he has two jobs, right? I think he has the job of protecting and providing for his family, and he will find the safest way to do that. But at the same time, he's a man with dreams, and he's a man with goals, and sometimes these two things pull at you. And so, you know, I think he's finding his way, much like the way his son is finding his way, much like the Monkey King and Wei Chen are finding their way. So I think one of the things that really attracted me to this project at the beginning was fathers and sons, always, because I think we had just gone through a period of pandemic. So I was thinking about mortality and immortality, and I realized that for a lot of people, having children is one way to find immortality. And then, you know, that led to me thinking about fathers and sons a lot. And then that's when they showed up, and it was like a perfect fit. You know, the timing was just right for me to do this part.
You know, even me and my dad, I see a lot of the tension that we had when we were growing up between the Monkey King and you know, and all of you are parents, right? So, you know, speak to this idea, this story and the relationship between parents and children, and just letting them make their own mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really hard thing to do when you're an Asian parent. Your kids don't make mistakes. I find, like, as a parent now, my daughter's 9, I'm saying things out loud that my parents used to say to me, and I'm like hearing it and going, what? I thought I would never say something like that. You just kind of fall into that mode that you want to protect your children, but at the same time you have to let go, right? And I think that's one of the themes in this story, right? Especially with Monkey King and his son. His son is acting a lot like he did when he was younger, and he doesn't like it. He doesn't like seeing that. But at the same time, that he has to recognize that's how he was, and that's how he grew. You know, in the Journey to the West story, he grew. He went on a journey of enlightenment, and he comes back a changed person or a changed monkey. And in this case, he's got to let his son try and do that. It's him wrangling with that idea. Does he let him go and let him do that, or does he try to, like, you know, bubble wrap him in life? You know, and you don't want to do that. There's a lot of kids get bubble wrapped a lot these days. You know, millennials, and they need to learn, like, tough love sometimes.
Jean, were you working through like your parent and, you know, side relationship?
I have to be very careful because my dad is actually here in the audience, so I'm gonna be very careful.
Everything about him was lovely, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was actually one of the pieces that I did not explore very much in the book, you know, and after I was done, I thought about it, and I ended up doing it in a couple of other books. But the parent-child relationship is so important in the Asian American experience that I'm really glad that Kelvin and his writers room really tackled it and put it, front and center in the series. But I am a dad, and I also have a dad. And so I have to say, like, the discussion about pursuing your dreams, that comes up in the relationship between the monkey king and his son. That was definitely like a big part of the tension between my dad and I when I was growing up.
When you decide to be a comic book
Yeah, that's right. No immigrant parent dreams of their child going into comic books, right? That's not a thing. That's not a
They
thing.
didn't pressure you to be a comic book artist. You will be a comic book artist.
No, but now that I have a kid, like I have 4 kids actually.
Too many.
And they kept coming. They just kept coming.
Not how it works.
And they're all here too. But I kind of get it. I kind of get where my dad was coming from, right? Like making a living is hard. Health insurance is really important. I understand that you now have to balance your dreams with like this practicality, So I think that discussion is such a part of many Asian Americans' life stories that I'm really glad it ended up on the screen. So good job, Kelvin.
Thanks, Dad.
Talk to me about the characters and are there new characters that you introduced or?
Yeah, well,
not too many spoilers.
No, I won't. But at the same time, it is part of like what I think Disney was open to when we brought this to them, which is that Disney is the home of these big, epic fairy tale characters, and they didn't start as Disney characters, believe it or not. Snow White was not a Disney character, and nor was all of Star Wars or all of Marvel, and yet that's what Disney does well. They bring them and they broadcast them mainstream, and they allow us to celebrate them and remix them and watch them generation after generation. And there's this huge gap when it comes to Asian and Eastern mythology, and you have characters like Sun Wukong and the Bull Demon and Guan Yin that are just as interesting and nuanced. And so this is an opportunity for us to bring those. Guan Yin belongs right next to Ariel in Disney's stock price or whatever. Sorry. So I think it's an opportunity for us to introduce a whole cast of characters to America, and for this to be as American as Thor is, which, is not an American character in his origins. So, so I think that's a really exciting opportunity too for the show.
Absolutely. Well, Kelvin, you did tell the Chronicle that once Disney Plus gave you guys a green light, that everything sort of fell into place. And I mean, really, the stars aligned. I mean, look at them. They're up here, but not only, the show was kind of a reunion of sorts for this little movie we all know called Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
We've got, Season 1, and then, spoilers, sorry, Stephanie Hsu and James Hong are showing up, and then on top of that, you have Rosalie Chang, who was that fiery activist up there. She was the star of Turning Red, also a Bay Area native. Then you got Daniel Creighton of Shang Shang, and then Lucy Liu was also directing
Episode 6, Lucy Liu, which was, speaking of surreal, that was wild.
I mean, it's like some sort of API Hall of Fame.
API Adventures.
You heard it here first, y'all. So, talk to me about that process of developing and landing that kind of talent. It's an all-star cast and crew.
Yeah, we're living in a really amazing time. Last time I was at CAAMFest was for Master of None in 2016. And so now to be here again in 2023, it really makes you reflect on what's happened since. You have shows like Fresh Off the Boat, Never Have I Ever, obviously Shang-Chi, Crazy Rich Asians. But this year alone we have, Joyride coming out. My brother's in Chinatown is being shot right now. There's just, the sky's the limit, and I think at the risk of being corny, they say it takes a long time for the fruit to ripen, but it drops in a second. And so it feels like it's all happening at once, but it's not. This is the result of years of people working and cutting their teeth and growing and learning. And for us to find each other, it might seem like the planets aligned, and they did definitely for this project, but they didn't align by accident. They aligned because, Gene wrote an incredible book. I had the chance to adapt it, and then I met Destin Cretton, and he called a couple friends, and so people show up, and you know, you meet strangers, you become friends, you become family, and it feels when you look back on it serendipitous, but it was really organic, and it does all start with the story. Chin-Han, Daniel, and myself have all lost parents in the last year, and so when you talk about mortality, you know, this is basically, you're watching my therapy basically on the screen, so thank you so much for being here for that. But it's an opportunity to work through that, and when that's on the page and that's the germ of something, people show up, they really do. And it might look like martial arts and monkeys, but it's a family story, and that's what really is connecting with people. And that hopefully is what's connecting here.
Yeah, and you all have some really great long careers, really, in movie making. And I know, Yann, you started at theater on stage. And then, Daniel, you mentioned, being breakout. You got your breakout overseas as a Chinese American actor. But you told me that this was kind of the first time you've actually been in an all-Asian American production.
Yeah, it was really interesting because, I cut my teeth in Asia. I spent 20 years there, filming in Hong Kong, China, and Taiwan, all over the place. And then I came back here and started to work on American productions here. And the interesting thing was, like, being over in Asia, I felt, I grew there so much because I was welcomed by the community there. And everything that I am now is because of them. And it made me, like, I'm so thankful that I didn't have to go to auditions in LA for that one Asian part that everybody was trying to go out for, right? I think that would have broken me, and I don't think I would still be here if that was the case. But I was allowed to grow as an artist, as an actor over there freely. And then coming back over here, but at the same time I felt different because I was American. My background was different, my education was different, the way I thought was different. And then coming back here, working on other American productions that had no Asians on them, I felt like an outsider also. And so this is the first time that I worked on a set where, like, I get the set and everybody, like, cast, crew, everybody is Asian and Asian American. It just felt like home, And it felt like this really cool chemistry that we're doing something really special because everybody came from similar backgrounds. Everyone had their own path that led them to this one point. And we were just doing something really special in that moment. And that energy I've never felt before, and it was special. It actually was so special it made me want to move down to LA and be around these guys. That takes a lot to move out of the Bay.
Still a Warriors fan.
Still Warriors fan. Still Warriors fan.
Yann, your character, Justine, I wanted to talk about her again, because she particularly talks about speaking up. And there was a quote, "Use your voice, that's where the power is." I know that message is always a good one, but it does seem particularly timely now, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, totally. And I'm really, I'm very honored to be able to play a mother who is believable, authentic, and who is also positive and not the usual tiger mom that we see. She's so loving, she's warm, and she's so encouraging. I just love her. Spoiler. There was one scene that when she told her son that you're fine, it's okay. When I was crying so hard. I know that episode was Destin's episode, and I was crying so hard, and Destin said, "I don't think it works." Because I was so sad. Because it was such a beautiful, warm scene that we don't want it to be sad. Yeah. So in the end, it becomes something really like something that Christine will say daily to her son. It's okay, it's fine, just be, it's okay. I think that scene works very well for me, and I don't know, I'm so happy. This is my first project here, and I keep hearing all these reactions from the audience. Thank you guys, thank you so much.
By the way, Yann is like an award-winning movie star from from Singapore. And go to google.com and type in Yan Yan's name. It's a website that will tell you more information about it. She's phenomenal. And Shin Han's an action star if you ever want to look him up.
Talk about Bon Jovi and all that stuff, but but I know we have to wrap up a little here soon. But let's talk again about, we've been seeing an increase of Asian American led content. I know it seems like, we had a moment in 2018, we're having a moment now, but it's been waves, but because so many people are working towards all that. And I think, we got really excited in 2018 and thought, oh no, this is going to be a fad, but this show proves that it's not. And so that's really exciting. What kind of changes are you currently seeing now in the industry and experiencing now when it comes to AAPI?
I think, as Daniel was saying, I think the really, the really striking thing when you go on set now is the amount of Asian American, Asian Pacific Islander representation everywhere. Right? You go to craft services, there they are, there we are. You go to costumes, there we are. Editing, the visual effects producer, there she is. They're all Asian. So I think that sense of community is hard fought for and hard won. So I never take it for granted. And working in that kind of environment really is very productive and very creative, because your base that you start from with the shared culture, with the shared knowledge, with the shared history is a powerful and very strong base to start from. And from there you can really just the sky's the limit, really, and you can just break free and explore and play, without having to worry about the rest of it. And that's a wonderful privileged environment to be in, to create anything, really.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I remember just even a few years ago, I'd be on a set, like looking for the one Asian person that's working on there, and then you see each other and you kind of.
The director ever go, hey, I found one.
And then you'd have these conversations on the side. But on this production, it was like everybody, right? And so it was a really cool experience. I was just saying earlier that, this feeling of family. But what's cool about it is that everybody that was working on this came from years and years of experience.
I'll start there, because I think there's smart things and there's interesting things and there's facts to learn, but I know that for me, the things that stayed with me were entertaining. I love E.T. because it's a great movie. I love Star Wars because it's a great movie, and so the rest is gravy and the rest is there for you on the rewatch, but I really do hope that it's a fun ride and that you gobble it up because you can't stop, and I also hope that people understand that this is just another American story, just like any American story. So.
I hope it's really fun too. But I also hope that, like right now, the way I think about Asian America is we're kind of on this K-shaped path, right? Where in some ways we are moving further ahead than we ever thought possible. And in other ways, like when you read headlines about older Asian Americans getting beat down on the streets, it feels like we're falling backwards in time. And for those headlines, I think a lot of that, like you can't do that to somebody if you think of them as a three-dimensional human being. Like the victims of that violence are seen as two-dimensional. And I think that's one of the powers of storytelling, whether it's in a book or on a television show, is I hope that people will see us as three-dimensional.
Further that is that, through these themes and things that we're talking about in the story, they're very specific but also very universal. I mean, who wasn't an awkward high school teenager, right? And the things that, Jin Wong goes through in this story is things that anybody of any ethnicity kind of goes through. It's just there's different nuances of it. And I hope that people watch the story and go, oh, I can totally relate to this situation in this kid, and really see that we're all really the same. And that's what's going to make this country great, because like the division that's going on right now is totally the antithesis of what America is. And what we need to get back to is this kind of united States of America, where we're united and we realize that we're all on a common ground. And I hope people just get that.
Speaking about universal, I think everyone has, regardless of race, gender, or any other affiliation, I think the universal here is very important, because I think everyone has a parent, everyone has a grandparent, and we have very few activities which we can all do together. And growing up in Asia, the intergenerational kind of activities are significant, and I hope that this show, with all the different storylines, with all the different plots and things that could be of interest to the different generations, would afford an opportunity for families to get together and maybe do something together, and that would be to watch the show. Thank you again for the opportunity to bring this to you.
I agree with all of the above. I know it's so hard to be the one at the end. But I really think, I hope the whole family will enjoy it. I really, really hope that the 3-year-old and the 9-year-old will watch it together. So, thank you.
Watch it with your grandson.
One more thing though, I would love to see next Halloween, kids dress up as Monkey King.
I actually have to say, I gotta give a plug in for the fact that the makeup, the effects for this is really good. And I actually was wondering about the scratching of the head. I'm like, oh, was the wig really itchy, or what was that about?
It was really itchy, but no, that's like, a very typical thing of Monkey King. He has scratchy ticks and stuff like that. We talked about, how that would evolve as he's older. He's a father now, he's not the little kid he was. So it's more subtle, and it comes across in moments where he's frustrated or confused or not sure what to do. But it's kind of an homage and nod to the traditional.
It must be nice to have that Disney budget for all those effects.
We don't. We are not a Marvel show or a Lucas show, so we had to make it work. I call it bacon wrapping. We basically bacon wrapped a show about a family that's going through highs and lows and the struggles of an immigrant family trying to figure themselves out, and a young man who's trying to figure himself out. We threw in a couple of fights, and we threw in a couple, if you'll notice, both the episodes you watched ended with a big fight, but the bulk of them are really family comedy and family drama. So we had to make it work. We don't have WandaVision money. But what we do have is a guy named Pang Sang, who's the stunt coordinator for Captain Marvel, for Shang-Chi. And so he can do things with wires that are better than VFX. And he can do things with his stunt team that are better than any special
It's amazing what a bunch of amazing Asian American people can do in one room. It's great. Well, with that, congratulations again. The show will all episodes will drop May 24th on Disney+. Thank you to CAAMFest for this great sneak peek. I hope you all enjoy yourself at CAAMFest, which runs through May 21st. You can buy tickets for more of the events at caamfest.com. Have a great, wonderful day in the sun.
Thank you so much.